One, I want to be a star. Zhang Ye felt that his life was wonderful. Last month, he had held his 32nd solo concert. Just a few days ago, he was invited to dinner by the Secretary General of the United Nations. Yesterday, he was invited to be the male lead for Hollywood's 3-day science fiction blockbuster, Railway Gorillas. As an excellent artist, Zhang Ye had mixed feelings. Did he have any regrets in life? No, his life was perfect. If he was to mention a flaw in his life, it would probably be the bad habit of bragging that he had never managed to get rid of. Whatever mentioned previously was just nonsense. Zhang Ye was, in fact, just a fresh graduate. He was an extremely ordinary person in this world. His dream was to become a celebrity, be a host, a singer, or an author. He just wanted to become famous. His aim was pretty high. Not only did he want to be a star, he also wanted to become the world's top superstar. This was his life goal. He had never given up on that thought. Tomorrow, he had an interview at a radio station. He still lacked confidence and was unsure if he would succeed or not. Maybe it was because he slept late last night. But tonight he had a dream where a few lines of words flashed across his mind. Installing game. Authenticating gamer. Game is installed. You are the game's only plot wire. This is a game that will help the gamer realize his dreams. Gamer's dreams and goals. Checked. Game setting completed. Game line ending completed. Help gamer become the greatest superstar in the world. Game difficulty. Maximum. Please wait. Randomly choosing new player incentive package. Received reward randomly changing existing world's background. Counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Game begins. To the world after being altered. Beijing. The morning of the second day. At home. Zhang Ye, who had just woken up, was still wondering about the dream from last night. As he yawned, he switched on the television to watch the news. Suddenly, he realized that there was an additional silver ring on his left pinky. It was clearly not something that belonged to him. He tried as hard as he could to take it off, but it was to no avail. Not only that, when he rubbed the surface of the ring, a touchable virtual screen suddenly appeared. It was written in the same font as the messages in his dream. It said, Game ring initialized. New player incentive package. Randomly changing existing world background is in preparation for augmented time. Counting down. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second. Incentive package augmented time initialization. Following that, Zhang Ye saw an alarming scene. The HTC phone he had thrown on the bed began twisting and strangely changed shape. Even the brand changed and TCC was engraved on it instead. One of the two pirated shoes EHIMOS poem collection placed by the windowsill suddenly disappeared, while the other became Chen Tiamo's poem collection. He could not notice all the changes, as many things within his house were undergoing changes. What alarmed Zhang Ye the most were the changes and the television. The Changhong branded television turned into a Phyton brand, which he had never heard of. And the main thing was the content being broadcasted on the television. Mongo TV's new variety show, Glittering Radiance, breaks 1% viewership. Wu Bank's latest movie, White Maiden, breaks 500 million at the box office. Heavenly Queen Zhang Yuanqi's new song failed once again. She will focus on the film industry from now on. Why, yesterday, the work of world-famous artist 8 Blue Sky was auctioned off in America. Many people in the entertainment circle dedicated songs to the most influential heavenly king of film of the 20th century. Shen Wei's his 10th anniversary memorial concert. Heavenly King Sun Yu teared up on the spot while singing. Zhang Ye looked at all of this for 10 minutes in a state of shock. He still did not understand what had just happened. How did the television and cell phone change brands? Heavenly Queen Zhang Ye? When was there a Heavenly Queen named Zhang Ye? And the 10th anniversary memorial concert? Where did this Chen Weishi come out from? How could he not have heard of him? Zhang Ye? Could it be that Zhang Ye had changed her stage name? Was Chen Weishi's and Chen's new name? That can't be right. Zhen Chen is still alive. What sort of movie was White Mundane? Was it a film by Yan Song F. King starred in? When the FK did he start filming movies? Zhang Ye rushed off the bed in a panic to open the curtains. He saw everything outside changing. The two old trees by the road had disappeared. Replacing them was a flower bed. A high-rise building far in the distance had turned into a shorter building, with only 6 floors left. And not only had a few buildings that were originally gray in color sub-tly change position, even the color of the stairs had changed to a brownish white. Ding. Incentives augmentation has been completed. Note. The real world's background has been changed into a theoretical balance. Zhang Ye's face went pale. He picked up that unknown brand phone and looked over it. The date and time were right. Today was the day 2 months after he had graduated from college. After flipping through a few pages of his contacts, he purposely called a few people. His close friends were still the same. But how could the changes in the surroundings be explained? Also, what was this game ring on his hand? Had the game ring really altered reality? Zhang Ye could not believe it as he switched on his computer to check the internet. The more he browsed, the more frightened he became. It had changed. Everything had changed. There was no one in the show hosting industry named He Jiang or Xianat. The music industry no longer had people like Zhen Chen or Jackie Cheung. The film industry no longer had people like Feng Xiaogong, Sun Honglei, etc. In China and in foreign countries, people like Qi Baishi or Pablo Picasso no longer existed in the world of calligraphy or painting. The Divine Song, Perturbed, Molière's novels, Beethoven's piano pieces, the movie, Transformers, variety show, The Voice of China, the famous painting, Mona Lisa. They were all gone. Seeing all of these things being randomly changed by the unknown game, he wondered if these were the game rewards he had obtained as the sole player. However, how did reality become a game? And what sort of game was this? Contra? Or Super Mario? Should he use his head to smash at a wall, causing a small magical mushroom to burst out, which could make him bigger? Of course, there were these things that did not change. Some important historical figures, world patterns and social environments had not changed. The Master Kong instant noodles on the table were still the same. LV was still world-famous brand. A lot of things had not been modified. Was this the so-called randomness? Something supernatural has happened. What the heck has happened? At this moment, thumps were heard. Someone outside was knocking on his door. The notes CKS were quite loud, and we're definitely done by hammering the door with a lot of strength. Zhang Ye guessed who it was and pretended not to hear it. After the person knocked a few more times, the clinking of keys could be heard and the door was suddenly opened. Zhang Ye looked at the person who came in. He was thinking that even though the world had changed, the landlady was still the same landlady. A woman in her 30s walked over. She okay, very beautiful. Sometimes, the two words very beautiful were very hard to use in describing her. For example, she had clearly just washed her hair. Her head was still wrapped in a white towel. But her beauty, which could overthrow states and cities, could not be concealed. Her figure was exceptionally good. Her skin's elasticity was clearly revealed and it appeared very sharp. However, one could only understand this beautiful woman's mean side through being in close contact with her for a few days. She could be as venomous with her words as you wanted. If not, how could she still be unmarried at this age? Just that mouth of hers made many unable to tolerate her. Seeing that Zhang Ye was at home, Rao Aiman cleared her throat and laughed without a smile. Kid, are you trying to play hide-and-seek with me? Why did you not respond when I was knocking all day? Are you playing dead? Zhang Ye turned slightly awkward. Landlady, you came. Rao Aiman conveniently sat her ass down in the living room. With a smashing sound, she slammed the calculator onto the table. Zhang Ye had seen her calculator numerous times in the past. Previously, it was a Casio brand, but now it had changed into a new brand that he had never heard of before. It started with a K. It even looked like the calculator businesses had been altered. Why don't you tell me what I'm here for? I'm here to collect rent. Her fingers hammered on the calculator in a very well-versed fashion. You haven't handed over this month's rent, adding up last month's utilities. I have already calculated them for you. The total becomes 2,582. I have already reminded you several times. Not 1 cent less is allowed. I tell you, little Zhang, I allowed you to pay rent monthly only because you were from Beijing. Go ask our hound. Which place would not first require you to put up a 3-month rental deposit? How much special treatment have I given you? Zhang Ye smiled wryly. Please give me another few more days. I really don't have any money in hand now. Once I find a job, I'll give it to you. Rao Aiman elegantly swept her fingers. If you don't have any money, get lost now. Zhang Ye pleaded. You know my situation. The rank I previously gave you was all money from my elders. I only have that much money. If you were to chase me away, I can only return to stay with my parents. I had already told them I would move out and be independent once I graduated. How can I just go back with my face still intact? Auntie, look at our floor. The entire rows, commercial and residential apartments, are all yours. Your wealth doesn't lack just this bit of money. About this, I have an interview at the Beijing Broadcasting and Television Station this afternoon. If I really become a host, I will make up for the rent once I get my salary. Rao Aiman glanced at him and, with contempt, said, You? Become a host? Cut it out. With your looks and height, who would pay attention to you in a crowd of people? You only dream of becoming a star all day. You think it's that easy to become a celebrity? If you can become a host, then this old aunt will dare to appear in the Spring G Festival ceremony tomorrow. Zhang Ye said. Anyways, just give me a few more days. Rao Aiman ignored it. No, wait. Zhang Ye said. Don't you see that I haven't eaten breakfast at all for the past few days? I really don't have enough money. What do I have to do with you not eating? Rao Aiman said with an inhumane expression. After fussing for a long time, he managed to get the landlady to leave. After about 10 minutes, Rao Aiman, who was in pajamas, came back. She did not knock on the door and immediately used her key to open the door. Zhang Ye thought Big Sister Rao was here to reclaim her money. So he carefully said, Landlady auntie, you. Rao Aiman threw a breakfast set onto the table and coldly grunted. I couldn't eat it alone. Kid, you lucked out. Let me tell you, even though jobs are not easy these days, you are still a graduate from the media college. Can you not get a job to make ends meet? Stop clinging to a single tree till you hang yourself on it. Zhang Ye was surprised and quickly said, Thank you. I got it. Rao Aiman, with her cold, beautiful face, left by slamming the door. Zhang Ye felt his heart go warm. Looking at the breakfast on the table, it was still hot. Clearly, it was not leftovers from this older sister Rao. It was definitely something she had especially gone down to be only after she heard Zhang Ye say that he had not eaten breakfast for a few days. Zhang Ye knew older sister Rao was someone who was warm on the inside, but cold on the outside. She may have a venomous tongue, but she still cared about him. Actually, he also understood what older sister Rao meant. However, Zhang Ye had always had dreams of making it big since he was young. He wanted to stand on a stage, facing the public. As such, he had never I dread doing jobs that involved being behind the scenes. Zhang Ye went out by taking the elevator downstairs. On the street, Zhang Ye looked all around. He realized that the road was familiar, yet strange. The billboard commercials were all celebrities he did not know. Some business shops were playing the hottest popular music that Zhang Ye had never heard before. As he walked through this familiar, yet strange, street, he found it hard to adapt. He felt like he did not match with this altered world. Many things had changed. Or, it could be said that this was no longer the world from Zhang Ye's past. It was August. The air was still hot and disturbing. It was not scientific. Really unscientific. Zhang Ye was, after all, a graduate from a prestigious university. Of course, he could not easily accept this reality. What day and age was this? It was no longer an ancient society where superstitions such as demons and ghosts existed. Being superstitious only brought harm. This was something even elementary school kids knew. Everything boiled down to science. One had to firmly believe in the power of science. As such, Zhang Ye's eyes turned solemn. He pulled out a 1 yuan coin from his pocket respectfully as he threw it up in the air earnestly. If it's heads, then this explains that this world's background has really been changed by the game. If it's tails, then it says that everything is fake. Ding-ling-ling. The coin landed on the ground. Heads. Zhang Ye's vision went black. It wasn't fake. Everything was real. 3 can save. Afternoon. It was August. The air was still hot and disturbing. That's not right. This description of the environment had already been written. It was August. The air was still disturbingly hot. Right. That hasn't been used yet. This world's Beijing radio station had merged with the Beijing television station a few years ago. Although it had merged, the offices were separate. Under the radio broadcasting building, Zhang Ye adjusted his western suit. He looked like a dog, a respectful person before walking in. All the official employees had already started work early in the day. Now, a large portion of people who entered were interview candidates. Like Zhang Ye, there was still some time. Let's examine the ring. Zhang Ye lowered his head as he fiddled with the mysterious game ring on his left hand. The eye-catching screen could only be seen by him. The people surrounding him did not notice the screen. Zhang Ye felt a chill run down his back. It was too sinister. Could something have gone wrong with his brain, so as to result in such serious illusions? There was a second when he thought that he would have to eat the brain supplement. Brain platinum. For life. The virtual screen had a few options. Reputation. 199,983. Items. None. Merchant shop. Not unlocked. Lottery. Obtained a treasure chest prize. Note. The increment of reputation is related to the player's fame, exposure, achievement, trust, reputation and other related factors. The items in the merchant shop and lottery can be bought using reputation points. Reputation is total reputation gained since the player's birth until today. 190,000 reputation points. Zhang Ye wondered for a while. He had obtained a few awards when he was in elementary school for writing composition. He also did all right in his studies during middle and high school. He was frequently praised by his teachers. Right. He even had the experience of going on TV. He and his dormitory mates in college were interviewed by a CCTV reporter on the streets in Xidan. Before the reporter could hand over a microphone to him, Zhang Ye had answered immediately. "I'm very happy back then." The CCTV reporter was rendered speechless and said, "We aren't asking to age up. We are asking if you feel," and before he finished speaking, Zhang Ye, who seemed to be deep in thought, suddenly said loudly, "Socialism is good." Well, it was unknown if it was broadcasted. In the end, were all these reputation points obtained from that? To earn 190,000 reputation over 23 years. It seemed pretty good. However, Zhang Ye quickly did not think so anymore. When he opened the virtual screen's options to see what he could buy with his reputation points, he was rendered speechless for a long time. The merchant shop had not been unlocked, so he could only click on the lottery choice. Lottery requires 100,000 reputation points. Upon purchasing, the game will randomly choose a treasure chest. Heavens! After all that he had done in his life, he had gathered enough reputation points just to draw once in the lottery, just short of drawing twice. With the mindset of trying his luck with the lottery and with a touch of his hand, the screen had a solid feeling. After confirming his selection on the prompted display, 100,000 points were spent, and his reputation immediately became 99,983. The lottery interface flashed and a virtual wheel appeared. There was a needle and a button. On the wheel were the words: consumption category, stats category, skill category, and special category. Each category had a respective color in its own region. The 4 regions were different in size. The consumption category took up a large portion of the wheel, nearly half of it. Next up were the stats and skill categories. Together, they took up nearly the other half of the wheel. The smallest region was the special category. It only took up a tiny region and was nearly invisible. The game screen introduction appeared. Category explanation. Consumption category: one-time use disposable consumable item. Stats category: permanently increasing a stat. Skill category: skills experience item. Special category: adds the purchasing privilege of buying a certain merchant item. Note: the treasure chest from the item category where the pointer stable stops will be the item that will be obtained. Zhang Ye was confused. He could only try by pressing the button to begin the lottery. Bah dog! The lottery began. The needle on the wheel kept moving as the wheel rotated clockwise extremely fast. After a few seconds, the needle slowed down and finally landed on the biggest area on the wheel. Consumption category. The lottery was completed. A tiny golden treasure chest appeared. The prize was automatically stored in his inventory, and within his inventory appeared an icon of a small golden treasure chest. How do you use it? Zhang Ye tried stretching his hand into the inventory. His hand actually entered as if there was a space within it. As he touched the floating treasure chest, small, he grabbed it and opened the treasure chest. On the street, that no one else could see, with a flash of golden light, the treasure chest opened. It was a tiny crystal. Displayed item. Save. Item description: one-time use disposable consumable item. Saves a record. This save file can only be stored for half an hour. Save. This was extremely familiar to Zhang Ye. Anyone who had played games knew that saves were used just before closing the game or to redo a certain event later on. It could only be stored for 30 minutes. Did that mean that it could not be used 30 minutes after? The save would be invalid. As for lottery and treasure chests, it was not foreign to him. Many games had a lottery. Treasure chests of different grades resulted in different grades of items. The probability was also different. Zhang Ye took the save crystal out. The golden treasure chest immediately disappeared into points of light. Zhang Ye tinkered around with it. Pop! Accidentally, he had crushed the crystal. Saving. Saving completed. At that moment, time seemed to stop for a second. Everything stood still. When everything was restored, the ring's interface had one more option: load save, displayed. That record was saved just like this. Zhang Ye touched his nose. Still confused. Newbie incentive. Background change. Treasure chest lottery. Items. Save. Was he really playing a game? The interview is at 10 a.m. Let's hurry. Brother son. What's the hurry? You will definitely be accepted. That's not necessarily true. They will only be hiring 2 people for the radio host position. I heard that there were more than 20 people that applied for T. He read an interview. The competition is fierce. Indeed. The position for hosts are the most popular. Old Joan and I have comparatively less pressure. I applied to be an editor, while Old Joe applied to be an operator. There is less competition, since fewer people applied for it. Some people said this as they walked in. Zhang Ye looked at the time. He ignored researching the game ring and hurried upstairs. The interview today was too important for him. He had thought through his development path properly, with his qualities and image. Television host, singer, movie star. He did not even qualify to be a villain in a movie. He wasn't outstanding and would never become popular. Thinking it through, it was best that he start off as a radio host. The requirement of having good looks were lower by a tiny bit. The listeners would only have contact with his voice, so it was the best position for him to begin in. It was also the springboard for his future development. He could not fail at this. Second floor, radio host interview venue. There were over 20 people in the corridor. Everyone was a competitor against each other, so the atmosphere was peppered with silence. Zhang Ye glanced around and suddenly felt a chill. All of the 20-plus people were handsome and beautiful, except him. All of the 20-plus people were aged between 25 and 30 and had experience, except him. Zhang Ye's only advantage was that he was trained specially for the job. He was a graduate from the Media College's broadcasting department. Besides that, he didn't have a single advantage. After graduation, Zhang Ye had also interviewed at a few broadcasting media companies, but he was eliminated at the interview phase. Zhang Ye knew that it was because he lacked the looks and experience. Sun Hongwei here. Come on in. The first person was brought into the room. The interview was over in 5 minutes. When the next person was called inside, the people beside him quickly asked about the interview. However, after a few times, no one asked any more. This was because everyone's interview was different. Some were asked to interact on the spot with a difficult audience. Some were asked to debate on a topic. These were here to understand the candidate's overall quality. Fifth person. Zhang Ye, a female assistant, called out with a list in hand. Zhang Ye took a deep breath and stood up. He would be lying if he said he wasn't nervous. Within the room were 8 interviewers. There were both men and women, and they looked serious. Seeing Zhang Ye, at least 2 of them frowned. It was unknown what they found unsatisfactory. Zhang Ye gently bowed. He handed over the required recordings of his information and speech to the interviewer before returning to his seat. He began introducing himself. Dear teachers, how are you? My name is Zhang Ye. I'm 23 years old this year and graduated from the Media College's broadcasting major. A middle-aged man impolitely interrupted. We have your resume, so you don't have to repeat it. He looked down at the information in his hands. Though, your written test results barely made the cut. The middle-aged woman beside him exchanged looks with him and took out a manuscript. She laid it on the table and said coldly, there are only 2 questions for the interview. The first is for you to use your fastest speed to finish reading the manuscript and then read it off script. Off script. It was that simple. Zhang Ye was overjoyed. Although going off script was not his best trade, it was not too difficult for him. He had undergone systematic training on this back in college. It was considered part of the basics. As such, he walked up and picked up the manuscript and looked at it. There were about 1,000 words. It was very long, but just as Zhang Ye was feeling confident that he could memorize all these words, the middle-aged woman stretched out her hands and took the manuscript from Zhang Ye's hands after 10 seconds. "Oh, I haven't finished reading," Zhang Ye said in surprise. "That's it." "Read it," the middle-aged woman said indifferently. The other interviewers did not have any reaction. It appeared very normal. However, Zhang Ye was in a daze. "Teacher, it was just 10 seconds and there were 1,000 words." The middle-aged man said unhappily. "If you need a day's time to memorize it, then I can just grab anyone on the street to do it. Why would we need an interview? Since we asked you to recite it, why are you saying so much nonsense?" Zhang Ye was a bit angry. "But, say as much off-script as you can," the middle-aged woman said impatiently. "Hurry up. There are still more than 10 people after you." Zhang Ye swallowed his anger and began reciting. "A notary organization, which ensures judicial activities and the stability of social order in our country, is a special lawful cause. Notarization is a notary organization that depends on natural persons, lawful persons." Or after 10 seconds. That was all he had read. A few of the interviewers scribbled something on their books. Following that, the middle-aged man waved his hand. "That's it. There's no need to ask the second question." Next, Zhang Ye knew that he had failed at his interview once again. He was disgruntled. Weren't these people too unreasonable? "You didn't even tell me how much time I had and get me to go off script. In the end, you wanted me to begin just after 10 seconds, not even reciting it. I want to see you try reading 1,000 words in 10 seconds. If you can really finish it from beginning to end, then I'll eat the chonger 3. Forget it. The country would not let me eat that." At the last moment of him walking out of the interview room, he heard the faint voice of an interviewer behind him. "In the future, people with looks do not need to go through the interview. It's a waste of our time." Zhang Ye heard this. Only then did he realize that the moment he entered, he had been given a death sentence. They had purposely given him an interview question that no one could answer even under the threat of death. "Maddening. I'm wasting your time? You didn't even give me a chance to answer? I don't believe it." Zhang Ye, who was in the corridor, felt like his heart had been wrenched out. He recalled the saved record. The time that had passed since he had saved was still under 30 minutes, and it was still within the save record's effective time range. He decided to use it as a last resort as he opened up the Ring's game interface. Looking at the loading save option, he gritted his teeth as he pressed down on it. He did not know if it would work. Reading save. Reading completed. He's using a formal multi of address here. Kinda like Sir or Mr. in English. In Chinese, they use a more ambiguous word of respect that is also used to address teachers, and there will be a play on words in the future. So the literal translation is used here.